people, I'm like, I'm just crazy. I don't know how else to describe it. And now I'm like, oh, no, I'm bipolar.
Welcome back to Rewriting Bipolar. I'm your host, Sophia Olson, and thank you so much for joining me for the final episode in this series. Last episode, we heard from 4 individuals about their experience with the bipolar label, the diagnostic process, treatment, and how it really feels to experience such low and high moods. In this episode, we are hearing from the same people, Joanna, Alex, Tatiana, and Bentley, to learn about how their relationship to their diagnoses have evolved. We will learn about how they make meaning out of their diagnostic label, the stigma they face, how narrative and storytelling factors into their lives, and the silver linings and sparkling moments they find alongside their diagnosis. This is a truly special episode, and I am so glad you are here. The meaning of a diagnosis is not static. As we learned in episode 1, the way we classify psychopathology has continuously changed throughout history. And when it comes to the experiences of individuals, their relationships to their diagnoses have also evolved. Joanna initially viewed her bipolar type 1 diagnosis as a problem. But as time has gone on, her perspective has changed.
So for a long time, I definitely felt like I wanted, that it was a problem that needed to be fixed. I felt like, the intention of medications is to make me quote unquote normal. And for a long time, I just kind of white knuckled it through life, just trying to do everything the way it's supposed to be done. And medication certainly helped, but I think once I got to a place of kind of going beyond the diagnosis and being let me just figure out the intricacies of how my brain works, because it feels pointless to just try to make my brain like someone else's. Let's just optimize what I have kind of idea.
Similarly, Alex initially viewed his diagnosis as a negative thing.
Yes, it's changed over time because at first I said, no, screw that. But I kept suffering and the meds worked. So that's how I kind of felt the diagnosis shift. I was like, okay, it's really just a sickness. If it's medicine that helps it.
Alex also described that his diagnosis feels like something that is part of his identity.
I have been encountering the psychiatric clinical settings since I was 15, continuously, so long, constantly. It's been such a big part of my life, more than, it's turned into my church instead. You know what I mean? It's replaced my church. So I do think that it's a big part of my identity, and it also informs my behavior, which affects my character, which is my identity. But also, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It just means I get sad sometimes, or I get a little too hyper sometimes. But as long as I control it, I can be a good person and control my actions.
Tatiana shared a similar sentiment.
I consider it to be a part of my identity because I used to just identify myself as crazy. That's how I describe myself to people. I'm like, I'm just crazy. I don't know how else to describe it. And now I'm like, oh, no, I'm bipolar. That's why.
As we heard in the last episode, receiving a diagnostic label can be very validating. At the time of the interview, Bentley had not yet received a mood disorder diagnosis, but she expressed that it would feel good to have a specific word to give context to her mood experiences.
I think it, again, would just feel validating because it can just, the sense of self and who I really am has just become very disorienting with some big mood swings going on throughout the years. So I think not that a diagnosis makes me or anyone, but I do think it would just help me better contextualize my life and my behavior and give myself a bit more grace.
Bentley continued to describe her perspective and awareness of her mood states, and specifically stated her desire for a diagnosis because it would give her a path toward more helpful treatment.
I'm not just a horrible person or a crazy person or whatever, but I do, as time goes on, I do just believe And I believe in myself that like there is more than that going on. There's something up. And I would like to figure out what is going on or find a solution with medicine or something that's going on.
The other interview participants indicated that one of the most helpful parts of receiving their diagnoses was that it helped them get the treatment that they needed. For Tatiana, the diagnosis helped usher her into a new era of maturity.
I feel like, especially once I got diagnosed and kind of like craziness in it, honestly, I feel like it started turning me into like an adult. Like I knew what was wrong with me. I was finally getting like good treatment. And I was actually like taking seriously like what the people were saying when they were like journal, sunlight, all of that shit. That I mean, like I had been told 1,000 times before, but like in my mind I was like, you people aren't helping me. Like why would I listen to you? You're a bunch of quacks. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I'd actually like to see your degree right now. Please present it. But yeah, no, I've like suddenly I become an adult. I live on my own now.
Another theme that emerged was that individuals felt increasingly more at ease in their diagnosis.
I definitely am a lot more comfortable with it than when I was first diagnosed. I also found when I was first diagnosed, like not really wanting to talk about it that much. But I eventually like had some experiences where someone would say something that was just kind of very ignorant, kind of implying, like I had a boss who said something implying that like another person she had worked with was really unreliable and crazy and whatever because she has bipolar disorder, or obviously like, oh, she's bipolar or whatever. And I was like, hey, I have that. And you think that I'm very reliable and like whatever. So over time with that, I've always been like very pro like talking about mental health and stuff like that. So it definitely feels like that was natural to happen. But I would definitely say right now I'm a lot more comfortable with the label than I was when I was first diagnosed.
While Tatiana did not have the same sense of disbelief, she voiced a similar feeling.
Well, because when I got it, it was like it was such a relief. So, if anything, I just become more comfortable with it, I would say. Like living in it. Now it's just like, it's just part of it. I'm bipolar, whatever.
However, these feelings of validation and ease exist alongside the reality of stigma. Alex explained that he faces severe stigma from his family because they think bipolar is just another term for crazy. His dad has thrown away his lithium prescription in the past, something that exemplifies the stigma around the medication.
It's much easier to be like, oh, like I'm on Prozac. A lot of people talk about taking Prozac or Zoloft than it is to say, oh, I'm on lithium. You know what I mean? When it even comes to talking about what kind of diagnosis you have with people and how it comes up. So I keep to myself. I don't really tell people that. I don't tell people like that. I don't like disclose my diagnosis often unless it's like someone that I'm getting to know, and I will disclose it just to let them know it's like who I am. Like that's what happens. It's just who I am. You know what I mean? It explains my story. It helps explain my story.
Similarly, Joanna said that lithium was one of the most stigmatized things about her bipolar experience.
I found that I was seeing more references to lithium being like a med for crazy people than I was seeing like the kind of stigma about bipolar itself. I remember when I had first gotten diagnosed, I found like 3 examples in like TV shows that I was watching where that's like, for some reason, just the one that everyone knows the name of. So there was that as well. But I have really gotten to a place where it doesn't bother me anymore, just after a long time of dealing with it.
When compared to other psychiatric disorders, bipolar is often more heavily stigmatized, a sentiment that Alex, Joanna, and Tatiana all spoke to.
Like everyone gets depressed or has been depressed. You know what I mean? Maybe not all people have qualified for major depressive disorder, but everyone's felt depression. They understand what it is. I mean, most people, I would imagine, I would think. So yeah, depression, no. And anxiety, everyone. Anxiety is a natural emotion. It's like meant to be there. So everyone's felt that. So no, it's not. When you say bipolar, it's like all these images get conjured up from the media or these scary identities scary just imaginations, because bipolar is like, whoa, that's different. That's like a sickness. Like that's like scary. You're gonna kill yourself. That's basically what people think. And so yeah, it's like annoying. It's not the same as anxiety or depression. It's way more stigmatized. And it's also a lot harder to treat and find treatment for and be validated in that treatment than just anxiety or depression.
Although awareness of mental health and illness has come a long way in recent years, there is undoubtedly a lot of progress that can still be made, especially when it comes to conditions like bipolar. This is a sentiment that Joanna spoke to.
I think there are a lot of people who claim to be very into like mental health advocacy, but what they really mean is like that they're cool with like people who have like depression and like general anxiety disorder. And I think that I wish people would understand that there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot of other issues, even like beyond just bipolar disorder. Specific to bipolar disorder, I think a lot of people don't realize that the kind of time between episodes, it can be significant for people, that it's not always up and down and up and down. It's like there can be a significant amount of time between episodes where people are just completely stable and just living their lives as normal.
Tatiana also expressed this same message.
I feel like I'm a misunderstanding because it's the same one that I had, that it's like this just constant back and forth. Like you don't kind of stay in the different states. Also, like, especially with, I feel like depression, everybody now says that they have depression. And like, I respect that, but I'm also a kind of person that's like, if you've never pissed yourself because you couldn't get out of bed, I'm like, I feel like we're just rocking on different like levels here. I'm like, it can go so much deeper. But then it can also be like, you know, it can be like, I can get up, go to class, like do all this, and I can still be like, I hate everything. I just want to like lay in a dark room and never get up.
There is no single way that people experience depression, mania, or any mood state in between. This diversity in mood experiences has created dynamics where some individuals feel like their moods are being too closely monitored by the people who are close to them. Joanna described this dynamic.
There are certain times when I have had experiences with people who really care about me, and they have no ill intentions, but if I express that I'm excited or I'm talking fast or just, you know, one of the things that could be mania and whatever, but just on its own, it's obviously not. I've had a lot of moments of like, well, how are you feeling? Have you gotten enough sleep? Are you taking your meds? Stuff like that within like family, mostly.
Having meaningful support from friends and family is immensely important, regardless of if you have bipolar or not. But sometimes good intentions do not translate to giving genuinely kind and helpful support. Tatiana shared a very similar sentiment.
Really, I think the big one is any time where I'm not seeming like I am 100% like societally normal. I have somebody in my life that knows that I'm bipolar who will ask me, are you okay? Did you take your meds? It's really like the constant question on whether or not I'm taking my meds when I am not, like, I don't know, just like happy. I would say if people in my life have gotten a lot better with it because I've explained to them several times. I'm like, I literally can't have you questioning my sanity every time it seems like I'm not okay. Like, I'm allowed to have other feelings. Like, if it's a big problem, I will listen to you. I'm like, but it's going to be really hard for me to do that in this state. Like, if I am manic and you're asking me these things, because it's going to just be, like, so repetitive to me that I'm going to be, even though I'm manic, like, I'm not going to be inclined to listen to you. But, like, you add that, and then I'm going to just go off the rails and be like, you always do this.
On the note of mania, Tatiana also shared this advice.
If you are in a manic episode, the people around you are not against you, nor are they trying to destroy your fun. They do actually care. So, like, just be careful about what you say about them. Or, like, don't try to assault them. I've been on that, and they don't respond well.
Alex also spoke about the contention that can arise with family when living with bipolar disorder.
The stigma has been hard, but I've been balancing it by realizing, well, doing research, talking to, like, therapists mainly, and also just realizing, like, it's just a label, like anything else. It doesn't really matter. Like, you're going to feel what you're going to feel. It's just, like, people might treat you differently, but if you educate yourself about it, you'll know how to, like, advocate for yourself. And that's what I would, like, recommend for anyone who has encountered this diagnosis or has it. So yeah, educate yourself so you can advocate for yourself for good treatment. Plus, people should just be educated too. It's good to educate people because then they'll know. It's like they read the experience and they're like, oh, this is like a sickness. Like this really is a sickness. It's terrible. It's debilitating. Like debilitating.
When asked if he thinks that the bipolar label encapsulates his experience, Alex had this to say.
Not if we're going by DSM criteria. Not if I like break out the big purple book, the big purple Bible right now and I read to you. I don't feel like that. Those little words on that page and everything they describe encapsulates what it's like, just what it's like, especially whenever it's a mixed episode.
As previously discussed, the bipolar label can provide individuals with a strong sense of validation. But, as Alex alluded to, the specific diagnostic criteria does not capture the gravity of the condition. In contrast to the sterile clinical language of the DSM, there exists the rich perspectives and stories of the individuals who actually experience the bipolar condition. Tatiana described that the traditionally accepted roller coaster metaphor for bipolar does not encapsulate the experience of the condition, and instead chose a different metaphor to describe her experience.
All right. I would like describe it as like, you're like going on like a mountain hike. You're like, some parts are going to be like really good and you're going high and it's going great. And other parts you're going to be like laying in the dirt, like hearing bugs, and you're like thirsty and uncomfortable and you just want to go home.
Alex also expressed a desire for a more nuanced understanding of bipolar disorder that goes beyond the surface level conception of the diagnosis being like a roller coaster. He elaborated and said he wished that there was more specification within the bipolar diagnosis beyond just type 1 and 2. He also voiced his desire to see mixed states represented in the media.
Like, definitely make mixed episodes more like representative in media and show what they're really like. I would show people like, with the pacing, with the bloody racing thoughts, with the insomnia, with like the mixture of like hypersexual things, but also like the depression, like things you would do when you were not depressed. Like it's just such a scattered, terrible mood state that it's like hard to capture. But I think it needs to be represented more in media because a lot of people go through it, and it's part of the bipolar disorder spectrum, and it needs to be treated. Like that's whenever it's most dangerous. That's like when you want to kill yourself. You know what I mean? That's at least for me. So it's like, yeah, that is what I would have meant. Just make that happen, and also don't make every manic person euphoric in the movies. Like, that's annoying, like I said, that part too.
Even though Alex detailed just how painful his experiences have been, he said he would not opt for a life without his bipolar diagnosis.
I wouldn't give it up. I don't think if someone could cure bipolar, obviously I would take my medication to help stabilize me. I mean, I don't want to be sick all the time. I think it needs to be like treated. But at the same time, I think there's something that has to do with it and my artistic temperament, at least, and how I've developed myself and my sense of identity as an artist, and it informs that quite a lot. And it gives me a lot of purpose and meaning, giving like language to like this feeling, this madness. So that's how I feel about it. I think it's a part of myself that's interesting, at least if you look past the stigma.
The link between mental turmoil and ardent creativity is a well-established phenomenon. That could be an entirely separate podcast series. Vincent van Gogh, who spent a considerable time in psychiatric institutions and is of course known for his deeply expressive artwork. The famed painter has been posthumously diagnosed with the condition, and his birthday, March 30th, was chosen as World Bipolar Day, which was created to educate, destigmatize, and bring positive awareness to bipolar disorder. Joanna brought up a metaphor from the famed painter.
There is something I think about a lot, which is in Van Gogh's letters to his brother Theo. In this one particular letter, Vincent says to Theo that he feels like a broken pitcher. And I remember seeing that and it really resonating with me, of just like the feeling of being broken. But I've kind of brought it back to this idea of like almost I think it's called kintsugi, like the Japanese art with like putting things back together with gold, where I kind of picture myself as, yes, I'm a broken picture, but I've been put back together. I put myself back together in a beautiful way. So kind of like, I'm more myself even than I was before I knew this kind of thing.
All of the individuals I spoke with expressed a similar feeling of gratitude for the complexity of their unique minds and the ways they experience moods. Bentley spoke to the idea that there is beauty in all facets of her different emotions, and that, through talk therapy, she has worked to resist any feelings of shame.
No, you don't have to feel guilty or feel shame or feel bad for when you're feeling really up. Like, an amazing and beautiful thing that you can feel so like appreciative of the people around you in those moments, or feel so appreciative of life and just see so much of the beauty of everyday life and be able to connect it back to like something bigger, or feel really in tune with the universe, or I think she just has made me feel better, that there's a lot of like beauty in that. I think that, it's really hard to see the upsides when you're feeling down. But I guess what is kind of nice is, as years have gone on, feeling really depressed or feeling really down used to scare me a lot. But I think that after just seeing like how my emotions and everything really play out, I can always trust that it will bounce back. Like, I know that it will not always be like this, because it never is, and it will change.
All of the participants I spoke to shared how there is a sense of comfort that comes with knowing that their mood states, whether good or bad, never last forever. Alex spoke to the idea that even through the pain and suffering, there is also gratitude for the deep level of resilience he has acquired.
So many things have happened to me, and I know that I'll be okay because I've gone through so much that everything's a piece of cake at this point, emotionally. You know what I mean? Like, I've tried to kill myself a lot of trauma. It gives me a sense of resilience that it's kind of unspoken, unspoken resilience.
It's kind of like living on a boat, sailing through the ocean. And sometimes it's calm and sometimes there's crazy storms. But you're on the same boat the whole time and you're just trying to keep it together.
Joanna similarly assured me that the bipolar experience is not all bad, and that there are many genuinely positive aspects.
I feel that I have a much deeper understanding for others who really, not only just bipolar disorder, I just feel like that just anyone who's really having any mental health struggles, like I just feel like I am in a place where I understand it better. I kind of believe that, like, everyone's brain is unique in its own ways, and so I'm very grateful for my ability to write and stuff like that, and certainly because bipolar is a part of me, that is a part of it as well. So it does also make me feel very grateful for like what I'm able to do, because I've been in such a low place of like, just like being on meds that are really numbing me out and being in credit card debt and all of that stuff. And it just, even though I'm not like exactly where I want to be, it like makes me feel like I'm somewhere a lot better than I was a few years ago.
When living with a condition that is stigmatized, not completely understood, and mentally taxing, it is essential that individuals find coping mechanisms that work specifically for their unique situations. All of the participants I interviewed spoke about the importance of creativity as a way to cope, and how personal narratives help them make sense of their experiences. Whether it be journaling, crafting, poetry, or comedy, all of the individuals I spoke with fervently expressed the importance of these creative endeavors. Tatiana communicated that the practice of journaling helps her to slow down and make sense of her thoughts.
I've been definitely doing the journaling, which is helpful, especially because like I feel like my brain is so scattered half the time, and I like to try and pinpoint my thoughts a little bit more. in how I'm feeling. It helps just like let it go.
She also talked about how this kind of reflection helps her to see her story of self more holistically, and discussed how the bipolar label informs her personal narrative.
The narrative I used to literally just tell is that I was like crazy and stupid, to like basically just explain how I am the way I am. And now it's like I actually have something to be like, no, I'm bipolar. It's just part of who I am. I'm not stupid, nor am I crazy. I'm just somebody that has different brain chemistry that can be altered with pills.
Alex also spoke at length about the importance of writing, specifically poetry, and how storytelling practices have been an essential coping mechanism for dealing with and making sense of his experiences.
They've been, besides medication, they've been the most helpful tool for me in kind of finding, like, they've been like the North Star in my, the North Pole in my compass, so to speak. They have, like, writing poetry and writing just in general has helped me find the way to articulate not only my mood states, my identity, and how they all affect each other, and like the idea of illness itself. It's helped abstract everything to help me understand things more. It's just been extremely helpful. It's also been very just satisfying to get it out in some kind of art form.
Alex explained that using a narrative framework has been incredibly helpful. In one of his college courses, he learned about the idea of narrative identity, a concept that views personal identity as an evolving story of self that creates coherence and stability. He has also compiled a book of poetry that details his experiences with bipolar disorder, hospitalization, medications, and suicidality, and said that this form of storytelling has been incredibly cathartic. Alex also stressed that there is no one right way to express yourself through narrative.
I do kind of a fragmented narrative approach because I do it through poetry, but either way, as long as you get it out and get it down, get your story out, like put it on paper, put it on your phone, make it into pixels, use ink, whatever, get it out. Big video camera, doesn't matter, just get it out.
Bentley also talked about how journaling is a very helpful tool for self-reflection, but her own narrative tactics expend beyond the traditional pen and paper.
I definitely journal. I think a lot of what I do, I like to journal, but sometimes I feel like I don't write as fast as I wish I did, and I want my thoughts and what I'm writing to be at the same speed. So a lot of what I do is, a little bit funny, but I talk to myself and talk out loud to myself a lot, and just kind of like, whether I'm up or down, but, talking about how I'm feeling or about different situations in life almost feels like I'm on like a podcast with myself, but that really talking things out loud, even just to me, obviously to friends or therapists as well, is extremely helpful. But just to me, even really helps me understand my life and situations and what's going on a lot more, helps contextualize everything and helps me process everything, especially like more upsetting or traumatic events. I definitely feel like journaling or talking it through really helps me.
In addition to her written and spoken storytelling practices, Bentley talked about how useful physical crafts can be when it comes to dealing with different mood states, but in a more abstract sense.
I do a lot of textile art and a lot of collaging art, which never feels super like literal to how I'm feeling, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't, I don't know. It's not art specifically about my mood or about, how I'm doing or whatever, but I do feel like how I'm doing manifests in my art, and as I do think it does for everybody. It's just like your subconscious mind and your subconscious feeling coming and being brought into like physical form. And even just doing textile art or collage art, which is like very, I feel like, detail oriented, takes a lot of time, just helps me feel calm and at ease and like helps regulate my emotions a lot. So it does just help me feel better and help take my mind off of, really negative thought patterns when I'm feeling down, or when I'm feeling really up, helps me kind of like chill out and put my energy to creative use.
One of the most beautiful themes that emerged throughout these interviews was the importance of humor. Even though these individuals have all experienced a great deal of mental distress, trauma, stigma, and the other hardships and identity issues that come along with a bipolar disorder diagnosis, they all expressed an ebullient energy and had no problem with laughing about their experiences. For a college class, Joanna wrote a stand-up routine about the week leading up to her hospitalization for her manic episode. She did not expect to write about this experience for this project, but when she started talking about what happened in class, people were laughing and very engaged.
So afterwards I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is entertaining, and also like maybe it would be good for people to maybe understand this a little bit better, make it seem less scary, stuff like that. Because I do think that just like being in just more regular media is helpful for people to see stuff.
Additionally, Joanna has an idea for a TV show that is based loosely on her experiences in the hospital. In addition to the personal catharsis that self-narration can have, she explained that the importance of media like this goes beyond herself.
Makes it seem less daunting to talk about, especially like I feel like it often makes like people who haven't had that experience more willing to talk about it because it's less scary.
Joanna also talked about how she identifies with the bipolar label and that she definitely enjoys making jokes about it.
I also like to have fun with it in terms of being like bisexual, bipolar, the whole Charlie Sheen, like I'm bi winning, because I think there's kind of, leaning into the kind of, slander in a way of just like being like, getting through it or whatever. But I find it's fun even to just joke about it, especially with other people who have similar experiences.
Even for the individuals who do not specifically write comedy, the importance of humor and community persisted. Laughter was a clear through line throughout each of my 4 interviews. Even when discussing the hardest or most traumatic parts of their stories, the individuals I spoke to expressed a lightheartedness that one might find surprising considering how heavy or intense the subject matter was. The participants were also united by their appreciation for their close friends and being able to talk about the depths of their different mood states.
My friend has been an awesome educator on the subject, and I do feel like most of my knowledge and understanding comes through her. For that, I also feel very grateful for, because I know that's helped her and her experience, and I want that for her because that's my friend, but also has helped me as well. Just give myself grace and not take anything too seriously or think that anything's too scary. So
Bentley continued to say,
also, some of the best people ever have mood disorders or have bipolar disorder, and that they're able to make beautiful art and have beautiful friendships and be able to do amazing things, and that like getting through hard times only gives people more strength. So I have been able to feel like there are some silver linings, even though it can be tough at times.
when we talk about mental health and illness, it is integral that we center the lived experiences and beautifully nuanced personal narratives of individuals. We can learn so much when we take the time to truly listen to individuals who navigate the world with a diagnostic label. These terms are complicated, constructed, constraining, and conversely validating. Behind each diagnosis is a complex history and individual narrative that is gorgeously unique. If you learned one thing from this series, I hope that it is this. These stories are worth listening to. We can gain so much wisdom when we take the time to understand, analyze, and empathize. Thank you so much for listening to this final episode of Rewriting Bipolar. It has been an absolute pleasure to share my work and research with you. I'm your host, Sophia Olson, and remember to take care of and be kind to yourself. And to conclude this series, I would like to extend my utmost gratitude to my friends, family, support systems, academic advisors, and evaluators. I truly would not have been able to do it without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, dial 988 for help. And if you are looking for help related to depression and bipolar disorder, visit the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance website at dbsalliance.org for more resources.
Honestly, I feel like if you're bipolar, that just makes you automatically a diva. Literally, like, most of my friends that I'm, like, close with now are bipolar. We're a very elite group. If you to be one of us, hey diva, have fun.